privilege to be here speaking in front of you and speaking alongside such great speakers. I like introducing myself as well, so I'm going to introduce myself and then I'm going to speak to you a little bit about my journey and how global citizen education has kind of shaped my journey. So my name is Mohammad Naeem. I am 19 years old from Claremorris, County Mayo, and I'm excited to be starting my law degree in UCC very soon. And I was honoured to serve as Ireland's United Nations Youth Delegate for 2023 and 2024, alongside Alicia O'Sullivan, a role supported by the National Youth Council of Ireland, the Department of Foreign Affairs, and Irish Aid. So I've always had a deep passion for kind of activism, and it has become a central part of my life over the past few years. But however, growing up in a very rural area and attending a secondary school that was heavily focused on sports, I found very few opportunities to explore this passion, and this is where the importance of GCE became very evident to me. GCE is about empowering young people like me to engage with global issues, to think critically about the world around us, and to act for justice and sustainability. And unfortunately, that was just not really provided to me during my education. The only subject that would have covered GCE was CSPE, but during my year, I was the first year where it was removed as an exam subject. So it was kind of seen as like a class where you can do your homework or just catch up. It was really dependent on the teacher. So when the pandemic hit, I was in Junior Cert, and like many others, I faced a challenge of isolation. And however, what I initially saw as a barrier turned into an opportunity for me. The shift to online platforms meant that I could access a wealth of opportunities that were previously out of reach due to location and travel constraints. And once I learned and discovered about the power of GCE, it opened doors for me. It connected me to global conversations, and it gave me the tools to make a difference. I joined organizations such as ECO-UNESCO, Corlin and Nogue, and the Irish Second Level Students' Union. And through these groups, I was able to start working on issues locally, like climate initiatives, with Mayor Corlin and Nogue, where I was elected chairperson. And we worked on initiatives like mobilizing students to create biodiversity areas on school grounds, which led to my involvement in the Mayo County Council Subcommittee on Climate and Biodiversity. And on a national level, I participated in ECO-UNESCO's Youth for Sustainable Development program, which introduced me to the Sustainable Development Goals for the first time, a framework I believe that should be central to our education system. We're starting to see progress with the introduction to climate and sustainable development as a Leaving Cert subject, but as already mentioned before, we need to ensure that we're not leaving anyone behind, and it's about how we can incorporate it into our education system, not adding it as an extra thing we already have as young people and just humans. We have already so many tasks and so many things on our plate. Adding it as an extra thing is not going to help. We need to fully, truly kind of incorporate it so we can understand and actively engage in the SDGs. And the SDGs align perfectly with the goals of GCE, which aim to equip young people with the knowledge and skills to contribute to a more just, peaceful, and sustainable world. However, as mentioned before, I wasn't taught about these goals in school, so highlights a huge gap in our education system. This led to me becoming the UN Youth Delegate for Ireland last year, where I had the privilege of representing young people on an international level. And without GCE, I wouldn't have gotten the opportunity to travel to the UN HQ in New York, speak on behalf of Ireland, and meet with young people across the world. And help me understand GCE is about more than just learning facts. It's about understanding our interconnected world and our shared responsibility to create a better future. I got to work on so many different issues, from increasing representation from the global south at the UN to addressing racism. And one of my favorite aspects of the role has been the grassroots work, going to schools, speaking at events across the country, and about my journey of how I got involved, Ireland's role at the UN and the Sustainable Development Goals, being able to educate and potentially ignite someone else's journey in making change is so, so powerful. And I'm so privileged that I get the opportunity to do that. Education is the key to achieving sustainable development goals, especially as we approach 2030, and there's an urgent need to integrate these goals. Unfortunately, the lack of education about the SDGs and overall GCE has negative impacts not just globally, but impact us as individuals as well. For example, Sustainable Development Goal 10 aims to reduce inequality and promote the inclusion of all people regardless of their background. Yet as someone who has faced racism, both subtle and direct, particularly this past year, from endless online abuse to being made feel I do not belong in certain spaces as a young person of colour in Ireland, I know firsthand how far we still have to go in creating truly an inclusive society, and GCE is crucial in addressing these issues, fostering empathy and breaking down the barriers that divide us. Finally, just to highlight, we really need to continue to empower young people through global citizen education so we can flourish and lead the way towards a more just and sustainable world. Thank you.